The crackling of the dying fire in the fireplace was the only sound within the cold, shadowed room. The sole sound, like a record's white noise, within the confines of the prison of his advanced age. The man's fingers were clumsy with cold, the fingers that had once crafted and tinkered with such delicate small instruments. A craftsman for hire. He had mostly made toys for children, but also machines and restoring prized heirlooms from the brink of hopelessness. Now he could barely run his hand down his feline companion's side. The cat still purred. He hadn't given the animal a name. He has never been good at names. That was his wife's strong suit. Sighing, the man again stroked the cat. It had been pushed onto him by his neighbors. He had the unfortunate reputation as a cat lover, an image he had done little to earn. His wife was the one who had loved cats. He wondered if it was a way to direct her paternal urge to nurture. They hadn't had children. The right time had never shown itself to him, and he kept procrastinating until the option wasn't realistic. He wondered if she ever resented him for it. The idea of his beloved wife laying there on her deathbed, hating him with a smile on her face, filled his stomach with lead. A meow dragged him from his introspection and back to reality. Despite the cat's cool fur, it was still his sole source of warmth, and had realized he had stopped providing it with affection. "I'm sorry that you never got to meet your adoptive mother." The sound was barely audible from his quivering lips, and he knew the cat wouldn't have understood even if he had spoken the words correctly. But he meant those words with all of his heart. He wondered if the cat would be all right after he was gone. He knew once his warmth faded that it would probably find a warm place to curl up until the sun rises once more. For the cat had plentiful left. If he had been a younger man, he would have been able to prepare firewood for the winter. If his hands still worked, he could have kept crafting and afforded to pay a younger to do it for him. If he could have stood from his chair, he could even throw the wooden side table to his left into the fireplace. But now he had none of that. Whether it was the lack of ability or lack of will, the man was out. He had used the last of his will to endure the winter prior. The man recollected the day he met his companion. The cat had appeared in his town and was handed to him on the first anniversary of his wife's death. A winter he didn't think he would make it through. One he hadn't been sure he wanted to make it through. He had initially denied the animal, but found that it had broken into his house that night and found its way onto his wife's chair. And the look in its eyes brought a familiar warmth to him. He hadn't asked it to stay, but tolerated it and gave it what it needed, as he hoped it would have done for him. The cat looked to him with every ounce of the homecoming, as his wife said when he had returned from the war. A look of warm love and cool compassion. She had taken years to help him recover, both physically and mentally. An act he wasn't sure he had ever thanked her for. There was much he wished he could have told her in her final moments, or far before. the words that eluded him in the moments before her departure. "I love you." He repeated the last words he had told her, the only words he hoped that mattered. The cat meowed once more, drawing his attention back to the present. His eyes moved to his cane, a wooden thing his wife had crafted to assist his leg, which had been impaired from the war. He hadn't wanted it at first, yelled, asked if she only viewed him as a cripple, said harsh things he wished he could have taken back. And there she sat, still holding it before him, wanting to help aid him. Tears came to his frosted eyes as he thought about it. The cane that had served him without splintering, outliving his wife and all 4 of her cats, beside him at all times as a constant reminder of his mistreatments. He thought of all the nights spent inside with her, both the lascivious and the quiet nights of reading and small talk. He hoped he had given her enough to call her life a good one, and as the tears fell and beaded off of the cat's cold fur, he felt a familiar warmth on his hand, a phantasmal vestige of the past. For just a moment, he had thought he saw her hand on his, such a real and tangible vision that he had no choice but to look over. Looked over just to find darkness once more. The cat licked at him and purred as he wept, as he always did when his residual memories of her presence in his life. Being with her was so easy, it was natural, a basic impulse that he had fallen into early and never left. He left the house unchanged after her passing. The only alterations were made by the cat, grooming the tears from his frozen face. He tried and failed to steel himself as the tears rolled down his face. Tears not of sadness or sorrow, but of love and longing, feelings he wished he could have conveyed to her better throughout the years, and especially after her illness began to set in. Exhaustion engulfed him, as it did faster and faster with each passing day. The cat's meowing echoed through his senses, a distant vibration that seemed far too detached from himself to be real. The cat must want food. He was sure he had something in the fridge, but it could wait until after a nap.
To hear more, visit The Pale Horseman Reads. I hope to see you there.